What's up everybody, David here, and today we're checking out the brand new Invasion drum library from Getgood drums. Let's check it out. Alright, so before we get started, something I want to point out is I didn't mix those drums at all. I just loaded up the default kit, turned up the turbo knobs a little bit, and exported it, and then I made my song. That is all I did. So yeah, that is straight 100% out of the Invasion library. No processing at all. And I'm just going to take a second as well. Let's just talk about the size of this library. This is the biggest drum library they've ever released now. And for some clarification, this is 7 snares, 4 kicks, 12 toms, and 30 cymbals. Yes, 30 cymbals. That's a lot of stuff, and that's really, really exciting. So what we're going to do now is jump into the DAW, and I'm going to show you guys around the library a little bit, show you how it compares to Modern and Massive, some things that are new, some things that are missing, some things that are different, and we're just going to check out how this library works. Let's get started. Alright, so right off the bat, the interface is pretty much the exact same thing as Modern and Massive. You have all your different kit pieces in the front, you have your full kit view, and you can cycle through the different pieces and design your kit just like Modern and Massive. You can audition your different pieces right from this menu right here and switch it up. You can do that with all the cymbals, all the drums, everything. So this is pretty standard. This is where you're going to design your drum kit, and then on the next few screens, you have all your different faders for the individual kit pieces. So you have like the sub kick, the kick trigger, the kick sum, and then you can control how much of your kick is going into the overheads and the rooms. Same thing with the snare. Like I said, it's all pretty standard. You have your reverb and turbo feature on the right, which are still fantastic. And the turbo feature is basically like a mixed version of that drum, and you can blend that with the original signal. So you can control how mixed I guess it is, which if you're not really great at mixing and you just want sort of mix-ready drum sound, turbo is fantastic, and I'm going to show you that later. The reverb, once again, is fantastic. Let's find the snare and turn the reverb on. Reverb is seriously amazing here. And yeah, everything is pretty standard. So you have all your different cymbal controls over here, so you can control how much of the cymbal shows up in the room and overheads as well. You can control the velocity curve of all your drums and cymbals, most of them. And then you can change your mappings, and it also has a MIDI learn feature here if you're using an electronic drum kit, which is fantastic. Have your groove player over here. Now, I saw someone asking if you want to load a groove into your DAW, all you do is just click on the groove and hold export and drag into your DAW. That's how that works. But the groove player, same thing as in Modern and Massive. So let's talk about some things they've added and things they've taken away. First of all, taken away, I don't see the drum bleed control. So I don't think this library has drum bleed like Modern and Massive, which kind of makes sense because if you're going for a more metal, fast kind of library, you probably don't want the bleed anyways. Next thing they've added is an envelope control and a pitch control, so you can really hone in the sound of your drums. So the pitch control, for example, let's solo the snare. So that works really, really well, and your envelope control is right above your pan knobs, and it just gives you that little bit more control and creativity over your drum sound. Now, what they've added, something that I think is really, really cool here, is actually this kick trigger and snare trigger. So basically, they kind of given you one-shots inside the program already ready to go. So if you click on kick trigger, it's going to give you 4 different options of different types of one-shots or triggers that you might want to blend into your kick sound. Same thing with the snare. So they're going to sound really robotic if you try to like turn them all the way up, but they're not meant for that. They're meant to blend and really reinforce the snare sound and make it a little more consistent maybe. So I'm going to try that with the kick, and we're just going to slowly turn up So I'm going to try that with the kick. We're slowly just going to turn up the trigger and see what happens. That sounds really cool. I really like that low blow. It's got an interesting top end on that low blow, which is kind of weird because it's called low blow, but it's got a really interesting top end that really changes the dynamic of the kick drum. Let's try it with the snare. That Beeftown sounds really cool, and it's a welcome addition. I think that's really cool that they added that, and of course you can route that out into your DAW just like any other channel. Now, one other thing I thought was really cool is that in the MIDI map you have a left and a right foot, and they actually sound different. It's subtle, but they actually sound a little different, which is really nice to see. And to make it even easier, they added an auto double kick mode. So basically, if you know your drummer is going to be playing double kick, then you would program it on this channel. But if you know it's going to be maybe right foot or just left foot, then you program it on one of those channels. And it just makes it easier so you don't have to switch back between different notes to get the double kick sound. Now, one more thing that they've added, which I think is really cool here, is they've basically built what sounds like a stereo widening feature into all of the stereo channels. So what you'll notice is that on every channel above the overheads, room close, and room far, there's this spread knob right here. And basically that to me sounds like a stereo widener. So we're gonna go to the cymbals where you'll hear it the most, and I'll solo this, and I'm gonna turn that up, and you're gonna hear a massive difference in the cymbals. Now, same thing with the individual mics. So if we go to the kick mic and solo the room far track, for example, we're gonna kind of bring that down to normal, and let's turn that up. This is a really cool feature, especially when it comes to your cymbal and room stuff. I especially see it really useful within the room tracks because it can just simply make the rooms sound bigger and wider than they really are. And this is really cool to see, and like I said, it's on all of the stereo tracks. So I'm really happy that they included this in here because it's just it's a very welcome addition, and you can do it right here inside of Invasion without the need of another plugin. And that's pretty much it. Those are the things that are new and different inside of the Invasion library. All right, so I mentioned the turbo feature in that walkthrough, and I'm going to show you some examples of different presets with the turbo feature off and turbo feature on. So how they're labeled in Kontakt is a raw kit and then a high CPU kit. The high CPU version is basically the turbo turned to 100 and the reverb already turned on like the snare and the kick track. So let's take a look at how the kits will be improved when using the turbo and reverb feature inside of Invasion. Alright, so now I showed you a demo, I've showed you a walkthrough of the plugin, I've showed you some examples of the variety of kit pieces you have as well as the turbo and reverb functions. So now is the time where I tell you guys what I think of Getgood Drums Invasion. I absolutely hate it. No, not really. Actually, I really love this drum library. Since Getgood drums came out, I felt like they were honestly like one of the top samplers, the top libraries out there, just because there's a certain vibe and quality that you get with Getgood drums that you don't get anywhere else. And I've said it before, I'll say it again, but they have the best room sound out of any drum library, hands down. Hands down, no competition. Their room sounds are just absolutely unparalleled in my opinion. But overall, the quality that we know and expect from Getgood drums is very present inside of the new Invasion library, and they've also added some new features to really modernize it as well. The inclusion of the trigger tracks, basically kind of like the one-shots, is really cool. I love the stereo widening on the stereo tracks. That's really smart that they did that. And also the tuning feature on the snare, and it's all built inside of one program. You don't have to exit or do anything. It's all right there and good to go. And aside from the new features, the kit sounds amazing. All of the kit pieces, all the kicks, all of the cymbals. There's so many cymbals in this pack, which is so much fun to play with. And everything just sounds amazing. Like I can't praise the sound of Getgood drums enough. They've done it again. They've knocked it out of the park. It is fantastic. Now, I recommend Invasion 100%, but it is also not without a few issues and quirks. First of all, this has been plaguing a lot of people in the group, but there are serious CPU issues. I run my computer at 16 samples normally, and it has no problems at all. It is not a slow computer by any means. But yeah, Invasion peaks my CPU. I get CPU spikes all the time. I had to bump it up to 512 samples. A lot of people are having that problem. And granted, it is kind of a big issue. I'm not too worried about it though, because they've already acknowledged that they are working on a fix. They know it's an issue, and I have faith that they're going to fix it. Modern and Massive had its few quirks in the initial stages of release as well, and those got fixed super fast, so I'm really not concerned. I should mention it because right now it is an issue, but I'm 100% sure it will be fixed. Second thing is more of a contact issue, and that's just that routing is absolutely terrible once again. It's just always a pain in the ass, but that's kind of more of a contact thing. If I had to pick one thing that kind of irks me about the actual library itself, is the soloing. Let's say, for example, I want to solo the room far track. I mean, when I want to solo that, I want to hear the kick, I want to hear the snare, the toms, the cymbals, everything. I want to hear the whole room track as a whole. You can't do that. You have to solo the kick room, and then solo the snare room, and then the tom room, and then the cymbal room, and then the room. And I'm just like, you have to solo 5 things to hear the whole room track by itself. And that's really annoying. I wish there was a global solo option. So if you wanted to hear the room track in its entirety, there's one solo button. This overhead track in its entirety with the kick and the snare and the drums, there's one button. I would like to see a global option rather than having to solo each section and then having to unsolo it once you're done. That is kind of a pain, but even that is such a small gripe. There's a few bugs here and there, but what I've noticed in the Facebook group is that people are making suggestions, and they're taking those suggestions and saying they're going to put them into the library. They're going to make those changes. So they're listening to the public, they're listening to suggestions and feedback, and they're actively working to include that in the next update, which is really all I can ask for. A company that listens, a company that cares, and that's exactly what's going on with Getgood drums. So, to summarize everything, go buy the Invasion library. It is absolutely fantastic. You will not regret it. If you're into definitely more heavier, aggressive sounding drums, this is a library for you. But make sure you pick it up as soon as possible, because right now, I think till the end of the month, which is by the time this is released today, I think it's $66.60 right now. You know, 666 because heavy, the devil and stuff. Solid. But after that introductory price, it goes up to $120, which honestly is still worth it. So if you miss it at $60, go buy it at $120. It is still worth it. You are still getting your money worth. It is a fantastic library. I'm telling you, the best room sounds in the game. Hands down, you won't regret it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, it makes it even better. You don't need full contact to run the Invasion library or Modern and Massive or any of their libraries actually. You can use it with the free Contact player, so that's less money you have to spend because Contact is not cheap. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Do you have the library? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it sucks? And if you think it sucks, how does it feel being so wrong all the time? Because that's totally not true and wrong and terrible opinion. But I don't know. Let me know, I guess. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There are new videos every single week, and you don't want to miss any content. Make sure to ring that bell so you get notified when I post new videos. And yeah, I think that's all of the ending spiel. So thank you so much for watching. My name is David, and I will see you next time.